Hey guys, I'm DirectingPete. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I am so excited to go over this video with you. We're gonna be going over the best thermometer island settings for your mini BR maps in Fortnite Creative. So before we dive into it, I just wanna say thank you all for being here. We're up to almost 12,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. It helps me out so much. You can always change your mind later and slam that like button on this video. If you get through the video and you don't like it, you can always change your mind later too. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. I don't want to waste any more of your time. Now I know this looks like a long, tedious video, but if you want to get better at Fortnite Creative, I guarantee you will by watching this. So let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go to the My Island tab, and then we're gonna go ahead and head over to Game. Under this, we're gonna have a bunch of options. We're gonna go through them one by one, starting with voice chat. Now, this is a mini BR map, so I'm gonna focus everything around a mini BR map, though you'll get an understanding of all these settings anyway for any other game modes that you're working on. For voice chat, I set it to all because I wanna be able to hear everybody talking. I think that's important. We should be able to hear everybody talking while we're in a game together because otherwise it's very lonely, very quiet doing solos. Max players, I set to 50. Now, you may want to set it to lower. 16 is very safe, especially if you don't have a creator code. It doesn't really matter if you go past 16. But once you get a creator code, you can go to 50. All right, so going on to teams, we're gonna set it to free for all. What's great is below you can see descriptions of what each of these things do and why you may want them. Because we're in a battle royale, a solo battle royale, we want to set it for a free-for-all. For free-for-all, it says there are no teams and all players compete against each other. That's exactly what we want for a mini BR. Team size dynamic. Allows devices to set the team size, allows for asymmetric teams and other team configurations. So guys, because we're in solos, team dynamic, I'll leave it on that, but it doesn't really need to be changed, all right? Matchmaking type, flexible teams. Guys, if you have a code, this applies to you. Change it to flexible teams and then set it to public. That way people can matchmake into your island. And because it's solos, they have flexible teams. They can be one of any of the 50 slots. That is what flexible teams means. Default class identifier, none. So if you're using class systems, which you may be able to use in a BR if you want, I actually use a couple. You can start with a class system, but I put mine to none because you do not start with a class in my mini BR. We can get into that a little bit more at the end. Revert to class at end of game. So if you do have a class system, you'd revert it to end of game. Spawn limit 1. Spawn limit should be set to 1 because otherwise it's more like a team rumble. You keep coming back to life every time you die. What's great about mini BRs is you can do whatever you want here. So I set it to 1, but you could set it to 2 or 3, make it more like a Team Rumble game. That's up to you. After last spawn, go to spectator. So what this means is what you will do when you die. After your last spawn, what will you do? You'll spectate other people that are playing still in the game, which is important because otherwise you can't watch the game anymore. This I would set to spectator just because if you get eliminated, you want to make sure that you are all set and good to go and you can watch the game still. You're not booted out of the game. Total rounds I set to 1. Now this one's interesting. I see people do a lot of different things here. They will do 2 rounds, 5 rounds, 10 rounds. There are a lot of bugs that I notice when I do more than 1 round. One, if you spawn items of chests and stuff like that, they could stay on the floor in the next round. There's bugs that start to happen when you're in too many rounds, especially on bigger maps like a BR map. I notice that gameplay gets a little wonky after the first round. This is a personal choice. You do whatever you want here. I personally like to leave it at 1 round and then you just start the game over again because what that does, it resets everything back to default. You can literally just hit X and play again, or hit play again if you're not on an Xbox, and it will definitely reset everything, reset the bugs, and that's just something I like. It gives you a clean start, a new slate. If you were maybe doing teams in your mini BR, you would want to turn this on, read through the menu items, and determine which works best for you, but since we're doing solos, we're going to skip that one. End game on match point win. Causes the game to end when one player or team has won enough rounds. I'm not doing rounds 1 and 2. No, you don't want to do that because it's based on eliminations. Team visuals determined at round start. Determines whether team names or color change each round. We don't have teams, so we don't need to worry about that. Time limit, none. Our storm circle determines our time limit, not a time limit itself. In mini BRs, I would set this to none. Fastest time to win disabled. Once again, storm circle determines time. all teams must finish. No, that's not true either. We don't have teams, we're solos. And once again, it is, you definitely don't want all teams to finish. You only want one winner. Win condition, most round wins. I only have one round, so that's right. That's what I want. But if you had more than one round, you still want this. You don't want more most score wins, because then it would take a cumulative value of all the rounds put together. So win condition must be most round wins. Eliminations to end are off. Now, this is definitely not something you want on. It's based on how many eliminations there are, and then that would end the game. We don't want that. Same with creature eliminations. Don't need that on because we have no creatures in our BR. Plus, that should not determine the end of a game in a BR, so we're going to keep that to off. Same with objectives to end. You don't want your game to end because of an objective. Once again, it's because we want to set it to last man standing. That's what's really determining this. Collect items to end must be off as well. Same thing, we're not collecting items to end the game. And then finally, score to end, we also want to keep to off. Last standing ends game. Turn this one on. This is for mini BRs. The last person left alive in the game determines the end of the game. That's exactly what we want. That is what a mini BR is. That is the definition of a mini BR, so that needs to be on. Join in progress. Now guys, you want to set this to spectate, because if you don't, what will happen is they will not be able to play the game that you're currently in. If you set it to join in progress, that's really bad, because then they can join mid-game and win the game at the very end without even being in there more than 1 minute. You don't want that. Spawn location, hey, it's the sky. And that's because we're starting in the sky, just like a traditional BR. You don't have to do this. You could be unique and do something else, but I've chosen sky because it's very traditional to a mini BR, and you want people to be able to get around the map fast. You want them to have the choice of where they land. You don't want to do that for them. Respawn type, individual. So if you were doing respawns, which I'm not, you would set it to individual, and that way the person respawning would come back to life. Maybe this is if you're doing a team rumble type of game. You want to set that to individual because there's no teams. Post-game spawn location, island start. Yes, that is your pre-game lobby basically. That is where people will start when they load in, and that's where you want them to go when it's all done. Only allow respawn if spawn pads found. No. This is more if you want to force somebody to go to a different location maybe, but we're not doing this in this BR, so you set it to no. Auto start. This is a big one. I would not leave it on off. I actually asked a few bigger creators what they thought, and if you have a code, it is important to actually have auto start on. This helps people find your map. They're able to use your creator code better. There's a lot of reasons for this, but they say that we should absolutely keep auto start on. I learned my lesson. I used to keep it off, so I'm going to keep mine on 60 seconds, and this allows people to get in, hit that Y button to get your creator code, or hit that creator code button, which is great. You want that kind of publicity. You want that kind of help. Game start countdown, 3 seconds. You want to maybe play around with this. So these bigger XL islands, you may want to go up a little bit higher. I'm actually going to start experimenting with maybe 4 or 5 seconds because it takes a while for the game to load in, especially on these bigger BR maps. For people on Switch or mobile or just maybe the older Xbox or PlayStation, giving more time to load in is important. That way they're not just floating while everyone else has an advantage. So maybe try playing with moving that up to 4 or 5 seconds. For that reason. Vehicle trick score multiplier. Now, if you have vehicles in your game and you're using the elimination system that I'm using, there is a weird bug that happens where it counts points from eliminations with the vehicle trick score multiplier. So I set it to 0 because I don't need them to get vehicle trick scores. It's a battle royale and it screws up the elimination feed, which you don't want to have happen. So set that to 0.0 and you'll have the elimination feed not give you like 10,000 eliminations, which it can do. Keep player built structures between rounds. Heck no, at least for me. That means if you're doing more than one round, if people built a huge structure in the sky, it's gonna stay there the next round. You definitely don't want that. You want a fresh start. Each round should be a brand new start with the Battle Royale. You do not want to have structures between rounds. Allow out of bounds, I have it at off. That would mean that you could go farther out of the XL island that you already can. These islands are so big as it is, there's no reason to turn this on. You do not want people to go out of bounds. We're in solos. Allow spectating other teams is fine because you're not on teams. So if you turn this off, you won't be able to spectate the game. It will kick you out of the game and you'll have to go back to the lobby. So this is important. You need to keep this to yes. Otherwise, you won't be able to spectate after you die. We were talking about the elimination system that I do in my BR that tracks eliminations. I'll show you here on the right-hand side. It's that beautiful UI right there. And what it does is it just shows you how many eliminations people are getting. It doesn't determine who wins the game. It's just a cool little metric that you can see while you're playing the game. I set that score to 1, so every elimination counts as 1 point. Assist score, I'm not going to mess with because I don't want to see assists. So we're going to set that to 0. Elimination score is fine. It's very clean, very simple. Since we're in solos, once again, allow friendly fire doesn't really matter because if you turned it on, you still be able to shoot each other. Now, having it off is fine, just set it to no, but think of the games you can do where you're on teams and you can allow friendly fire. That'd be pretty cool. Player collision on. Yes, if somebody runs into somebody else, you want them to be able to run into each other. You want them to be able to hit each other. I've seen hubs where you can actually phase through people. It's very odd, and you definitely don't want it in a BR when you're fighting 1v1 in a box fight. Vehicle impacts damage objects. Yes, you want your vehicles to crash into things and create chaos. Maybe you don't. You can turn that off, but if you want it to be able to break through walls, stuff like that, so you can drive around your maps, I would suggest you keep this to yes. We're gonna move on to settings now. All right, so time of day, camera filter, light brightness, light color, fog thickness, and fog color. They're all part of the same group. I want you to go through each of these, play around with them. They don't take effect until you go back into the map. Take a look at all of these, play around with them, get a unique feel for your BR, make it your own. There's a lot of cool settings here, so make sure you check them out. Starting health should be at 100 if you want a traditional BR, but what's cool is you can make starting health higher or lower if that's what you want to do in your BR to make it unique. Max health is where you're going to be able to go up higher than 100. So maybe they start with 100 health, but they could go up to 150 if they find health. Starting shields, no, I don't want anyone to have 100% shield right when they drop out of the sky, but they could have max shields 100. Infinite ammo, off. I put ammo boxes around my map, so you have to search for the ammo and get it yourself. Maybe you do something different where you get unlimited ammo. I don't like that. I like to have the traditional BR feel, so I changed mine to ammo off, and then I put in ammo boxes. Infinite resources off. I want you to be able to harvest, so if I turn that on, you don't need to harvest. You could just build forever. I just don't find that to be fun in a BR, especially if someone's a pro builder and you're not. It just creates this really horrible imbalance. Maximum building resources, I set to 500. You can go higher or lower than that. For me, I wanted to have more of the competitive feel, so I set it to 500. You don't get too many. It's not a super big map like the others. So harvest style, you can change from Battle Royale, Creative, Save the World. But what you can also do is just leave it on Battle Royale and then go down to Harvest Multiplier and you can 1x, 2x, 3x, I think up to 4x or 10x. But you could do that with any of the harvest styles and then harvest multipliers, play around with those. Allow aim assist? Yes. I want controller players to have an advantage on my map because there's a lot of sweaty PC players. So I keep that the same as Battle Royale, but you can change it. Allow building all. Yes. I want people to be able to build with wood, stone, and metal. This and traps as well. I want you to have the ability to build, so that's why that one's on. Allowed to edit. So anyone can edit your structures as well. Remember when Fortnite did this back a few seasons ago and it was a disaster? They did it for like one release. I do not think you should do this. You can, but people generally get frustrated. So I would leave it to default. So you cannot edit enemy structures. Building can destroy environment? Yes. So if you're in a tight quarter, you're building, you break the lights and the chairs around you, you definitely want to be able to do that. If you're in a tight situation, you don't want a chair or something to be in the way. Structure damage, all. Yes, I want you to be able to destroy anything in the game. So this is more for team stuff, but you can make it so you can't destroy anything people build, which I think would be really weird, like not being able to delete or edit somebody else's build and then I don't know. That's chaos. I would leave structure damage to all. Weapon destruction, 100%. What's kind of cool here is you can make your weapons more powerful if you'd like. I think 100 is great because people understand how the weapons work in BR. So you want to make sure that translation feels normal, but you can change it. Pickaxe destruction, I'm going to leave it default, but you can do things where the pickaxe damage is actually stronger, or you can make it so there is no pickaxe damage. This is just that as well. You could turn pickaxe damage on or off. And then this is the range, how far a pickaxe can hit. So these are just cool options that you can play with. I personally just leave everything on default since I want to keep it to feel like Battle Royale. Start with pickaxe. Yes, I want to start with a pickaxe. I would not want to because the whole point is to harvest material. So in my Battle Royale, I want a pickaxe at all times. Down but not out. Since we're solos, we don't need to have this on. If you turned it on with solos, yes, your teammates will drop, or you will drop as a solo player before you die, which is very odd in solos. So I would consider keeping this off unless you're doing some very interesting game mode. Eliminated player drops items. Drop. Yes, I want you to be able to grab the person's loot that you killed as a reward, just like regular BR. You can do it so it deletes. You could do it so the person keeps it if they respawn and you do multiple rounds. Maybe you would want to do that as a game idea, but drop is the most traditional to a BR. Allow item drop. Yes, this means that you can drop your items. That would be horrible if you could pick up an item, you pick up the wrong one and you can't drop it. So I would keep it to yes, unless you want to make lives very difficult in a mini BR for people. Allow item pickup. Yes. So if people drop items and you set this to no, they can't pick them up, and then you can't pick up items from chests. Literally, it would break your BR. So I would keep this to yes. Do not change it to no. Auto pickup pickups. Don't override. Basically, what this is doing and the next couple settings are doing is overriding people's personal settings that they're used to playing with. Auto pickup ammo, auto pickup consumables. All of these are things that people already determined what they want to do when they're playing regular BR. So to play around and to force their hand, unless you're doing some kind of crazy custom game mode, I would really consider leaving all of these to do not override, because you do not want to override people's settings if you want it to feel like a true BR. So leave all these don't overrides the same. Let them choose in their own customizable settings. Respawn time, 5 seconds. If you're doing kind of once again, you're doing like a Team Rumble fill, do 5-second respawn. Spawn immunity time, default, leave it at default. Fall damage on, I like it on, feels more like a BR. People building really high will really think about it before they go too high, and you have some kind of peace without going crazy with building. Gravity normal. I really wouldn't screw around with gravity. It's self-explanatory. Jump fatigue I would leave on as well. I wouldn't really mess around with that too much. I want to keep it true to BR, but if you want to get rid of it, when people jump, they don't get jump fatigue, which is great. Glider redeploy off. If you want to do the whole Team Rumble feel, turn it on. Player flight, I leave off. This is really for testing, guys, so I would leave that off, which would then turn off player flight sprint and player flight speed. Player names and location, team only, guys. I would leave this on team only, because otherwise, you'll be able to see every person's name on the map, where they're at, and you can find them easily. Health granted on elimination. I do siphon here. You don't have to do siphon. I do 25 health gained when you get an elimination, which I also do siphon with materials as well. You get wood 100, so you get 100 wood when you get an elimination, as well as 50 stone and then 25 metal. I just feel like these were fair. And then gold, I give 5 because I have vending machines in my map where you can spend that 5 to 10 gold to upgrade your weapons to pretty boss legendary weapons. So it's just a perk to use the gold that you make on kills. Self-damage on hit amount. Sets the amount of damage that players will deal to themselves when they hit something else. This is it probably for a really interesting game mode, but let's say you miss the person you're shooting at, you lose 1 health every time or 5 health. You'll really take your time to aim your shots. Kind of cool for an LTM if you ask me, but I wouldn't use this in a regular BR. So once again, this plays into that whole self-damage on hit amount. This is for an entirely different game mode. So all of these self-damages, we're gonna leave on their default settings because it's more for the different game modes. Allow manual respawning. I would set this to no. You don't want people to be able to manually respawn in your map and get out of a sticky situation. Show wood resource count. Yes, stone, metal, and gold. You want to make sure those are all set to yes. If you're not using gold, you can set it to no, but you want to be able to see your resource counts. You don't want to hide that from people. Maximum equipment slots, I would hit the don't override, but you can shrink the amount of equipment slots you have so people can't pick up as much. Not sure why you would turn this off. I like it. It's very traditional to BR. Maybe you don't want to hear elimination audio from players. We're down to the final tab. We're now looking at UI. All right, so in UI, we have the timer direction. We want to make sure that's set to countdown. Game winner, display time. Game score, display time. Round winner, display time, and round score, display time. I came up with these. These times felt the best. You guys can play around with these as well. HUD info type, I do leave to score. You can do objectives and all these other things, but score is what BR is based off of. So you do want to leave it on scores. Show cumulative stat value on HUD. I set this to no because you don't want the cumulative value of all of the games merged together into one score. If you're doing rounds, this only applies to rounds, you want to make sure that this is set to no. Otherwise, if somebody gets 10 eliminations in the prior game and 1 in the next, they could still win all the rounds. Show resource feed on eliminations. It determines whether to show the larger resource feed when receiving resources by eliminating players. Leave this on yes, basically how many kills you got. You want to see all of that information. Scoreboard win condition and tiebreakers. Time alive is the most important for solo mini BR maps. You leave it to time alive, that determines the winner because last man standing wins the game, right? So time alive is important. You can break down tiebreakers if you'd like, but there technically should be no tiebreakers, so you don't even need tiebreaker conditions technically. I just thought it would be fun to include so you can just look at your stats. Map screen display, you can do score or overview map. It's a BR, so you want to do an overview map so you can see the map. Show cumulative scoreboard. Determines whether the scoreboard should show information just for the current round or cumulative. No, you don't want multiple rounds to show up on one scoreboard. Once again, it will merge everything from different rounds into one. Show island code watermark. I don't know why you would leave it off. If you're published, I would leave it on because then people know you made it. They know that you're the creator, and I would absolutely leave that on. Moving on to the last couple of settings here. Game end callout, you win, lose. Yes, you want to leave it at you win, you lose. There is different conditions, but for a battle royale. The other thing you can do here, which is kind of interesting, if you guys know the device, the speaker device, you get access to that speaker device with a victory sound, a defeat sound, and a draw sound. So you may want to play around with this. Maybe get a unique sound for a victory, a defeat, a draw that's different than normal battle royale. Next, custom victory callout. The Gnome King is proud. Now, there's a Gnome King in my map, but you can do these custom defeats, custom callouts, where you can make it kind of fun and unique to your game mode. If you want to hide the elimination feed, you can do so. If you want to hide party eliminations, you can do so. These are all options that you guys have. You can turn those on. I leave them off because once again, I want to keep that traditional BR feel. Guys, I really hope this helped a lot. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.